That morning, once again missing out on the scholarship, I suddenly awakened to consciousness. I realized I was merely a background character in a novel, just a tool used to highlight the protagonist. No matter how hard I tried, anything the heroine wanted could be taken from me effortlessly. My guaranteed admission to Peking University would be snatched by her. The project I'd worked tirelessly on would appear on her resume. The big tech company offer I'd fought hard to secure would be stolen. Even the company I'd poured my heart and soul into creating would eventually fall into her hands. Driven by resentment, I turned villainous, opposing her at every turn, only to be harshly punished by the male lead, who deeply loved her. I lost everything, and finally perished in a fire. It was absurd. If I was destined to turn dark eventually, why wait? My cousin Su Yinyin was the typical heroine of a spoiled girl novel, calm and gentle, never fighting for anything. Yet everything good kept falling into her lap. My parents favored her, my boyfriend fell for her. No matter how hard I worked, all my achievements only served as a wedding gown for her. For instance, after studying non-stop and earning the top rank in the school, the scholarship I was about to receive suddenly went to Su Yinyin for no reason at all. The reason? My class president boyfriend claimed that since she'd improved from failing to scoring 70 points, she deserved encouragement. What was most ridiculous was that neither my homeroom teacher nor my classmates raised any objections. Instead, they all genuinely congratulated Yinyin. Fueled by rage upon awakening, I suddenly stood up and declared, "I don't agree. The scholarship rules are clear. Only students in the top 10 nationwide qualify. Yinyin may have improved greatly, but that's not a justification for awarding her a scholarship." As soon as I finished speaking, the entire classroom turned to face me. My boyfriend, Yin Hao, frowned and asked, "Xiaowen, how can you be so selfish? You're not short of money. Yinin's parents passed away. Why can't you just give in a little?" I was utterly speechless. This supporting character in this novel's world displayed absolutely no ability to think critically. When spouting idiotic remarks, he was completely unbothered, morally self-satisfied. I gave him a half-smile and said, "What great skill is it to give away someone else's wealth? Why don't you try scoring in the top 10 next time and offer your spot to her? Or if you feel pity for her poverty, why not just help her financially yourself?" Yin Hao was stunned. This was the first time I'd ever defied him. He'd never expected such resistance from me. Previously, I'd always obediently followed his every word, blindly accepting even the most ridiculous ideas as sacred truth. After all, in my family, I was never valued by my parents. He had become my only lifeline. And yet, this soul salvation in my life secretly loved my cousin Yinyin. I never saw it through the narrative's hold. Instead, I willingly became his sycophant, watching as he fawned over her. "Never mind," I sighed. "I don't want the scholarship." Yin Hao, startled, stepped forward and pulled Yinyin behind him protectively. "She's your cousin, can't you just be kinder?" I stared with a blank look and asked, "Claiming what's rightfully mine? How is that being excessively harsh? Where does kindness fit in? She's my cousin. My mom gives her over 10,000 yuan a month. Does she even need to work to cover tuition? Aren't you noticing the brand name clothes she's wearing? Can you not see?" It was only then that the entire class seemed to regain their vision and finally scrutinized Yinyin. Her coat bore a prominent LV logo. Wait, why does Yinyin receive poverty subsidies every year but still wears designer clothes and uses a luxury smartphone? My desk partner asked in confusion. Su Yinin's face instantly turned pale, tears immediately streaming down as she whined pathetically, "This was Auntie's gift for Xiaowen, but Xiaowen didn't like it, so Auntie asked me to wear it. I'm sorry, Xiaowen, I'll give the clothes back to you right away." Sobbing, she started to take off her jacket, reaching toward me to return it. Yin Hao swiftly grabbed her wrist, glaring at me with pure venom. "Xiaowen, are you deliberately humiliating Yinyin? She has no parents, is living off others' kindness. How dare you bully her? How could you be so cruel?" The classmates immediately turned on me with accusatory glares. "Xiaowen is truly terrible. How can Yinyin be so pitiful?" And yet Xiaowen showed no compassion at all. Yinyin stood there with red eyes, sniffing and sobbing as if overwhelmed by unbearable injustice. The homeroom teacher tapped the desk to silence the noise. "Enough, stop arguing. I'm making the decision. The scholarship goes to Su Yinyin. Xiaowen, bring your parents here. I want to have a talk with them about your upbringing." Yinin's eyes widened in shock. Then tears spilled over as she bowed deeply to the teacher. Thank you, teacher. Thank you, everyone. I really don't know what to say. Everyone has been so kind to me. You're all angels. Ian how tenderly wiped her tears. You dummy. Because you're an angel. That's why we treat you this way. It's what you deserve. Be happy. Okay. The entire class erupted into inexplicable applause, all shouting in unison. Su Ian is an angel. I felt my scalp tingle with discomfort, a bitter nausea rising in my chest. So this is the heroine's halo, huh? I pointed at myself. Then at Ian. I'm 176 centimeters tall. She's 158 centimeters. I wear size L. She wears size S. So tell me, why does my mom's clothes fit her perfectly? Not only is the jacket a brand, but do you recognize those shoes? Parisian's dad's shoes. I grabbed a pen pouch off her desk. Who in their right mind gives a poor student a pen case worth hundreds, maybe even thousands? Then I pulled out my own worn-out pen pouch, my pen case, my backpack, everything secondhand, used by her. You can still see her initials stitched on it. I gave a self-derisive laugh. My parents were also character puppets, unreasonably doting on the heroine, ignoring me, their own daughter, but look what happened in the end. One died saving the heroine, the other was killed by the villain, just so the main couple could grow closer. In these love pursuit novels, side characters are disposable, prepared to sacrifice everything, even their lives. But why should I? I won't stand for it. The classroom fell into an eerie silence. Ian's face flushed crimson. She turned pleading eyes toward the school bully, the male lead, Gu Yanxi, sitting silently in the corner. But Gu Yanxi had been fighting with her these past few days. He snapped his head away, pretending he hadn't seen a thing. Then suddenly, she cried out, I don't want it anymore. Scholarship, clothes, shoes, all of it, I'll give it back to you. If I could, I'd trade everything just to have my parents back. With that, she covered her face and ran out in tears. Even as he'd been ignoring her moments before, Gu Yanxi leapt up instantly, kicked my desk hard, and glared at me with dangerous warning. If you make Ian cry again, forget the scholarship. This time, I'll make sure you can't even stay in school. He stormed out after her. I glanced up at the classroom surveillance camera, and a faint smile tugged at my lips. This wasn't the first time Gu Yanxi had bullied me, even in this novel world. There's still law. The homeroom teacher gave me a cold, contemptuous glare. Some students have far too much jealousy, very unhealthy. Kong Rong was only 6 when he gave up the larger pair. Now you're 17, 18, and still can't learn to be selfless. All you care about is winning, showing off. Just disgraceful. I laughed bitterly, shooting back without mercy. Teacher, you're so good at being humble. So why did you blow up when it came to promotion, during Teacher's Day? Didn't you gladly accept gifts from classmates? Why be so selective then? Her face turned pale, then flushed red. Suddenly, she slammed her fist on the desk and shouted angrily, What are you even talking about? How dare you accuse me of accepting bribes? You, immediately call your parents here. I can't teach a student like you. I just smiled at her. Teacher, I actually have proof. You know, I deliberately waved my phone in the air. The homeroom teacher's face turned ashen. She glanced around frantically, then lunged at me and snatched my phone away. Using a phone during class, a clear violation of school rules. It's confiscated. I glanced around the classroom. Teacher, everyone's got their phones. Can't you just confiscate mine? A few students quickly hid their phones. A couple, especially those from wealthy families with powerful parents, looked at her defiantly. She dared not cross them, trapped and flustered. She lost her mind and hurled my phone out the window from the 12th floor. Then she glared at me and snarled, You little brat, threatening your teacher. Didn't your parents teach you to respect teachers? Go pick it up yourself. She probably assumed destroying my phone would erase the evidence, but she didn't know. I'd been waiting for her to destroy it. I burst into tears and ran out. 1 minute later, I stood on the rooftop of the school building. Just then, a PE class was happening below. Someone spotted me teetering at the edge and screamed, Someone's about to jump. Soon, school administrators and students were alerted. A crowd gathered below, and the rooftop was surrounded by people. The school called the police, who kept urging me to come down. School leaders repeatedly promised justice. said they'd make the homeroom teacher compensate me and offer a proper apology. Under the pressure, the homeroom teacher had no choice but to yield. Xiaoan, I'm sorry, okay? I was just emotional a moment ago. I'll buy you a new phone. Please come down now. What you're doing now is terrible for the school and terrible for you personally. Her apology was hollow and insincere. I acted crazed, sobbing dramatically. I don't want a new phone, nor your fake apology. You all bully me. Can't I just die in peace? Then I took another half step toward the edge. 12th floor isn't high, but I'm terrified of heights. My knees were already trembling, my head dizzy. But I had to keep standing. I had to make this scandal big enough so I could finally get the justice I deserved. Seeing me swaying on the edge, the police snapped at the homeroom teacher. Can't you even apologize properly? Are you really going to drive a student to death? The school principals also berated her mercilessly, and immediately decided, you're suspended. Take some time to reflect. The homeroom teacher looked utterly devastated. I just threw her phone. What's so bad about that? Yes, she continued calmly, but over the past 3 years of high school, I've ranked in the top 10 of the grade every single time. I've won awards in every competition, yet every time there's a merit-based selection, I'm left out. I was bullied by classmates, and you just stood there, doing nothing. Worse, you even encouraged others to isolate me. You spread lies to my parents, claiming I caused trouble at school and didn't respect teachers. Everyone else carries their phones. Why did you only target mine? What exactly did I do wrong? The homeroom teacher was speechless. Even she herself probably couldn't understand why she'd singled me out like this. After all, I was meant to be the villainous female antagonist whose downfall was inevitable. To her, I was just a tool meant to push me toward darkness faster. Whispers spread around me, fingers pointing. This teacher is absolutely unreasonable. No wonder she pushed someone to the brink of suicide. I'm going to post this online and expose her. She has zero professional ethics. I felt thoroughly satisfied. When fairness and justice are absent, you can only fight for what's yours through your own means, even if those means aren't exactly honorable. At that moment, my mom arrived with Su Yinin, her eyes red from crying. Without hearing me out, she started yelling, "You little brat again, what are you doing now? Get down from there this instant. Don't cause trouble for the school or your teacher. You're so irresponsible. I might as well have never raised you." The homeroom teacher quickly complained to my mom, "Ms. Chiao, please tell me you'll be fair. I only disciplined her a little more strictly, and now she hates me. You yourself told me to be strict. Now everything's turned into my fault. I'm absolutely innocent." My mom grew even angrier, spitting furious words at me. "If you've got the guts, go ahead and jump. Stop embarrassing yourself here. How could I possibly give birth to such an ungrateful child? If only you were half as sweet as Yinin, I'd be grateful to God. Why do I favor Yinin over you? Isn't it because you're so stubborn and unbearable?" For a brief moment, I truly considered ending my life, but I immediately pushed that thought down. Why should I be the one to die? Meanwhile, Su Yinin stood beside me, feigning concern. "Xiaoan, don't make Auntie angry. Just come down. If you die, how would people judge Auntie and Uncle? You must think of them too. Can't be so selfish." Pathetic. I nearly choked on her insincerity. "See, how well-behaved Yinin is. Why can't you learn anything? I'll count to 3. Unless you come down, I'll pretend you don't exist." The police officer watching the scene couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed my mom by the arm. "Are you here to console her, or to push her over the edge? What kind of mother are you? Your daughter is about to jump, and all you do is yell at her. Having a mother like you, I'd want to die too." My mom was stunned into silence. Then rage flared again. "My own daughter? What's wrong with me scolding her a bit? What's it to you? It's just you police officers making a mountain out of a molehill." If no one paid attention, she'd come down quietly. "She's just bluffing. Watch her. She won't dare." Before she could finish, I smiled and leaned backward. The screams around me were deafening, almost bursting my eardrums. I only dared close my eyes, falling freely. As my heart seemed about to explode, I landed hard on an air cushion. My insides felt like they'd torn apart. I went dizzy from the pain. "Get her to the hospital immediately." I was fine, no serious injuries. After a few days of observation, I recovered. I had carefully calculated the angle and position. I knew for certain I wouldn't die. The school suspended the homeroom teacher, ordering her to write a reflection report. Her career would permanently carry the stain of pushing a student to jump. At first, the internet was flooded with outrage toward both the teacher and my mother, but soon, Su Yinin launched a live stream. My mom sobbed into the camera, "I only have one daughter, I could never abuse her, I just pushed her a bit harder, but I never expected her to be so fragile emotionally. Because of her stunt, I haven't been able to eat or sleep, I've gotten sick." Su Yinin also appeared, weeping dramatically. "Auntie is truly a wonderful mother, she's always cared so much about her cousin. She even gave up a high-paying job worth hundreds of thousands just to take care of her cousin. After my parents passed away, all my relatives turned their backs on me, only Auntie took me in. Please stop blaming her, I'm so hurt by it all." She and my mother hugged and cried together, their bond tighter than blood. The protagonist's aura once again worked its magic. After her tearful confession, public opinion instantly shifted. No one blamed my mother anymore. Instead, people praised Su Yinin, her beauty, her kindness. Either they'd praise my mom for her great compassion, how kind she is to her niece, so how could she possibly treat her own daughter badly, or strange voices suddenly appeared in the comments section. One self-proclaimed classmate exposed the truth behind my attempted suicide, claiming it was all for a scholarship. I was accused of deliberately insulting my teacher, which supposedly made the teacher throw away my phone. And I was also accused of bullying Su Yinin at school. Soon, an avalanche of abuse poured in toward me. For a scholarship, she even tried to jump off a building. This girl's completely insane. She insulted her teacher. No wonder the teacher got so angry and threw her phone. Her own mother won't even defend her. What kind of person is she? Let her just die already. Why bother saving her? Looks like a gangster girl. Even bullied her own cousin. Truly vicious. I looked at the comments and found them utterly laughable. I'd only just resisted a little bit, and the author immediately began intensifying the plot again. Even though the main character hadn't suffered any real harm, here I was, this minor supporting character, daring to defy the script, wanting that scholarship. That meant I had to be taught a lesson, but fine, I wasn't a celebrity anyway, and being targeted online didn't matter much to me. However, when I got to school, I found my photo on the honor board had been scrawled over and defaced with spray paint. The words, "whore," were scrawled large across it. I took 2 photos with my phone. Suddenly, pain exploded at the back of my head. I turned around, the basketball rolled across the ground, and a group of boys stood across from me, smirking with sly grins. Farther away, Gu Yanxi leaned against the wall, holding a drink bottle, arms crossed, clearly enjoying the show. Clearly, these boys were his doing. "Sorry, top student, you're not going to try jumping off again, are you?" they teased, laughing as they picked up the ball. I grabbed it first, hurling it straight at them with all my strength. "No, I'm not," they yelped and scrambled away, clutching their heads. Then, turning fierce, they rushed at me. "You're asking for it, you bitch." I looked up and stared coldly at them. "What, you want to hit me?" Then I turned to Gu Yanxi, provoking him further. "Gu Yanxi, picking lackeys to bully me, what kind of skill is that? How about you try it yourself? Can't even stand up for your beloved Su Yinin even when it comes to bullying. What's that supposed to be? True love?" His eyes instantly turned dangerous. He flung his nearly empty drink bottle at me. I didn't dodge. Instead, I fell to the ground on purpose. The drink splashed all over my face and hair. He wasn't satisfied. He stepped forward, raising his leg to kick me. "Qiaoan, I told you, I'll make sure you can't survive here." Then he kicked me hard several times. I curled into a ball, writhing in pain, but still taunted him. "Hit me harder, Gu Yanxi, kill me, you bastard, you're just a piece of trash." At that moment, the sound of camera shutters clicked rapidly. A group of independent media journalists burst in, snapping pictures frantically. Gu Yanxi and those lazy delinquents scattered like rats. But it didn't matter, I'd already achieved my goal. The campus bullying incident escalated, with the attempted suicide incident still fresh in people's minds. The incident now drew massive public attention, and with Gu Yanxi, the famous heir of the massive Gu Group conglomerate, being the other central figure, the controversy exploded in popularity. The trending topic, Gu Group heir bullying classmate, skyrocketed to the top. Soon, A series of videos showing my abuse flooded the internet, slapped by Gu Yanxi, dumped with dirty water. Books and test papers torn to shreds, punished and verbally abused by teachers. The key point, all of these incidents were caught on school surveillance cameras. The incident quickly attracted the attention of Education Bureau officials. Gu Yanxi's parents were summoned to school for questioning. Meanwhile, reporters and independent media creators, already lying in wait, rushed out, relentlessly pressing the Gu family. Why did the young master bully his classmate? What did she possibly do to offend the Gu family heir? Regarding forcing a classmate to attempt suicide, what's Mr. Gu's take on this? Doesn't Mr. Gu think that hitting women is the mark of a truly dishonorable man? Gu Yanxi's father looked absolutely furious. He roughly slapped Gu Yanxi so hard his lip split and blood trickled down. Look at that. True family inheritance. According to the novel's backstory, Gu Yanxi endured years of physical abuse from his father, which shaped his cruel and violent personality. Later, he met Su Yining, gentle, bubbly, and radiant like a little sun, and was gradually healed. Only in her presence did he manage to restrain himself. Though Gu's mother was heartbroken, she dared not interfere, only pleading with reddened eyes. "Husband, don't hit him in front of so many people," Gu's father snarled. "He humiliated me in front of everyone. Gu's stock is collapsing. How could I have such an utterly useless disgrace as my son?" As he raised his fist again, Su Yining suddenly lunged forward, throwing her arms around Gu Yanxi and shielding him from her father's fist. Gu Yanxi stared at her, stunned. Yining turned back, her face pale, eyes red and swollen with tears. "Mr. Gu, please don't hit a CI. It's all my fault entirely. If I hadn't made him defend me, he wouldn't have beaten Qiaowen." Then, with a thud, she dropped to her knees right in front of me. "Qiaowen, I'm sorry. If you're still angry, beat me, scold me, don't trouble a CI. He only did it because he cares about me. What possible wrong has he done? What a saintly act." Smirking inwardly, I looked at her and asked, "Yining, you're my cousin. Why don't you care that I was beaten? Why do you only worry about him?" She froze, heart racing, and stammered, I do care about you too, but why must you escalate this so badly? It won't help the school, or our families, neither the Qian nor the Gu household." Such hypocrisy. I smiled and asked, "Yining, you said he fought for you. Isn't it strange that I never hurt you? What did you tell him that made him so enraged on your behalf?" She wore that familiar look of exaggerated innocence again. I didn't say anything. Don't make things up. It was about the scholarship. A CI felt you were singling me out." I tapped my phone open, playing a video. "But in this video, that's not what you said at all. You were sobbing into his chest, saying I've always bullied you." I played another video, the same scene, this time with Yining's tears streaming as she cried to Yin Hao. Then the third, where she wept about the same things in front of other guys in class. Gu Yanxi stared at Yining, utterly shocked. Yining looked frantic. "A CI, it's not true, this isn't real." I let out a bitter laugh. "I wish it weren't. You're my blood cousin. Since you were 10, you've lived under my roof. My parents treated you like their own child. Far better than they ever did me. You sleep in my room, I sleep on the sofa in the living room." Oh, there was another empty room, but since you wanted to practice dancing, they turned it into a dance studio. "My mother would rather remodel a room for you than give me one." I smiled, pulling up home videos. "Your closet is full of designer labels, while I get cheap mass-market clothes. Someone who didn't know better might think I was adopted, and you're the real daughter." Facing these undeniable pieces of evidence, Yining just responded with wide-eyed innocence. "These were all gifts from Auntie. She gave them to me, not that I wanted them. She felt sorry for me and treated me kindly. I didn't expect you to get so angry." I sighed. "Yes, your parents are gone. So my parents tried to make up for your loss. I got top marks in class, you got the lowest. Whenever you cried, they blamed me for being too successful, trying to make you feel worse. I wanted to join the competition class, but you couldn't go, so they wouldn't let me. As soon as you cried, they cut my allowance, forcing me to go hungry. But what did I ever do to you? Am I really supposed to suffer all of this?" Su Yining burst into tears again. "I didn't know anything. Auntie never told me about it. Wah, Anan, I really didn't want to compete with you." "Yes, She didn't want to compete with me, because she didn't need to. All she had to do was shed a few tears, and someone would willingly fight for her, like Gu Yanxi. Just seeing her cry, he immediately forgot himself and shoved me hard. I fell to the ground and tumbled a few times. My head slammed against the table corner, pain flooding my vision, making everything go dark. Then I passed out. Chaos erupted instantly. When I woke up in the hospital, I heard my parents comforting Su Yinin. Yinin. Don't be afraid, it wasn't your fault. How could we possibly blame you? Relax, we won't report it to the police, nor will we hold Gu's son responsible. The doctor said it's not serious, just a mild concussion, rest a while and you'll be fine. Yinin sniffled softly. Auntie, uncle, you're too kind to me, but I'm worried Anan won't forgive us. My mother snapped. She dares. This family doesn't let her make the rules. Relax. If she dares make trouble again, I'll never give her a single cent. How many times must one lose faith before one can still stay calm after hearing such words? At that moment, police arrived. My mother quickly declared they already had a settlement with the Gu family. No need for police involvement, but I pushed myself up and said firmly, Uncle Police Officer, I want to sue Gu Yanxi, perhaps standing too fast. I felt sick to my stomach and immediately leaned over the bed, vomiting. But my mother didn't care about the state of my body. She shouted at me, Sue, what kind of nonsense is this? We've already settled it with the Gu family. I stared coldly at her. By what right do you speak for me? Did you get hit? Were you injured? She was stunned. She hadn't expected me to talk back like that, and instinctively raised her hand to slap me. I couldn't dodge in time and took the blow full on my cheek. The policeman stared in shock, quickly grabbing her arm. The child just suffered an injury. How could you hit her? She showed no remorse, sneering, she's grown bold, now daring to argue back. Officers, you may leave, the matter is settled. No need to trouble you, this child is just stubborn, we'll handle it ourselves. My father stood silently beside her, like a soulless puppet. Uncle Police Officer, I repeated, firm and clear, I want to file a lawsuit. No one can forgive the people who hurt me on my behalf. The policeman looked at me. His face filled with pity. My mother exploded with rage, pointing at me. How stubborn can you be? Are you trying to kill me? Don't you have any respect for your own mother? I replied calmly. Did you ever respect me as your daughter? From today on, I don't want your money. I don't want you. I'd earned scholarships every year, and during winter and summer breaks, I tutored others, saving up quite a bit. That was enough to see me through the last stretch of high school. College would offer financial aid, and I had more opportunities for scholarships. She shrieked in fury, lunging at me again, only to be stopped by the police. I pulled up my shirt, revealing old and fresh bruises all over my body. Uncle Police Officer, I've been suffering long-term abuse and violence from my mother. I want to sue her. This is video evidence from one of her violent attacks. I handed over the proof to the officers. She screamed she'd kill me. Pretending to be mentally unstable, then was wrestled to the ground and forcibly taken away. After the police finished examining my injuries and took my statement, a kind-hearted policewoman, her eyes reddened with tears, hugged me tightly. You poor child, you've endured so much, we'll make sure justice is served for you. At that moment, I broke down completely, sobbing, thank goodness, not everyone is trapped by the script of fate. Thank goodness, there are still people with a conscience, who break through the haze and see my pain. Because I insisted on pressing charges, Gu Yanxi, now 18, was directly detained. My mom was also detained due to domestic violence. Su Yinin had no choice but to turn to Yin Hao to intervene for her. Yin Hao pushed open the ward door and immediately said, Xiaoan, have you had enough? How could you be so cruel as to get your own mother arrested? I coldly stared at him. Who the hell are you, to meddle in my business? He froze for a second, then began mocking me. No wonder nobody likes you. Back then, I still felt sorry for you, but now I see, those who suffer often have something despicable about them. Either you listen to me and withdraw your complaint, or we break up. He thought I cared. If not for the script's constraints, I wouldn't have even wasted a glance on such an idiot. Then let's break up. He was stunned. What did you say? I said, get lost. I said without mercy. Yin Hao trembled slightly, then finally muttered, fine, you said it, don't regret it later. Even if you cry and beg me to come back, I'll ignore you. With that, He turned and ran. I glanced out the window. I knew this wasn't over yet. Before I was discharged, my homeroom teacher came to visit. Xiaoan. There are 3 exclusive admission slots to Peking University. I know you've always wanted to go there. Here's a letter of reconciliation and the application form for the Peking University admission. She handed them to me confidently, convinced I'd finally bend. I smiled. This was clearly the Gu family stepping in. The bullying scandal had erupted fiercely online, and public backlash was intense. Gu Corp's stock had been hitting daily limits. Naturally, the teacher, a loyal lackey of the Gu family, had to step in. I rubbed my temple. Teacher, can you honestly answer one question? She frowned. Go ahead. I smiled. How much is conscience per gene? Then I tore the reconciliation letter and application form to shreds. The door's right there. No need for a farewell. She erupted in fury, pointing at me and shouting, you'll regret this. I had nothing to regret. To escape the fate had set for me, I'd risk anything. Su Yinin's reputation was utterly ruined. She was mercilessly roasted online, acting the innocent White Lotus. She took all the benefits and still pretends to be the victim. She must have orchestrated this bullying. So sneaky, with grades like hers. How dare she claim a scholarship, Best Improvement Award, hilarious, dressed in luxury brands, yet crying about being dependent on others. Where's her conscience? Accusations against her began mounting at school. Many people finally saw through her false pretenses. Despite her living expenses being higher than ordinary workers' salaries, she sulked about poverty and snatched up scholarship funds. She secretly encouraged bullying. Anyone who dared displease her was instantly punished by Gu Yanxi. I wasn't the only victim. One girl had merely sent Gu Yanxi a love letter. Su Yinin burst into tears, and Gu Yanxi broke her in half. The girl suffered lasting psychological trauma and took half a year off to recover. Now, others stood up and exposed Su Yinin and Gu Yanxi together. With so many witnesses coming forward demanding accountability, Gu Yanxi was sentenced to 1 year in prison. Though the Gu family's power was immense, my mom was also sentenced to 6 months for domestic violence. To avoid retaliation from the Gu family, I moved straight into the school dormitory and lived with Qin Yutong. I thought this would allow me to survive the rest of high school in peace, but soon after evening study hall, I was cornered at the classroom door. Yin Hao and Su Yinin stood outside. Su Yinin feigned concern, saying to Yin Hao, Hao, let's just let it go. I don't want trouble. Yinin, you're just too kind, Yin Hao said, gripping her hand. This kind of person won't learn her lesson unless she gets a taste of punishment. Su Yinin kept silent then, looking through the window at me. A flicker of smugness in her eyes, Yin Hao told her to watch closely, then led the group into the classroom. Qiaowen, if you kneel down and apologize to Yin, and make a public clarification video online, saying you were never beaten, and that your mother's abuse had nothing to do with her, I'll let you off. Several hooligans with dyed hair held baseball bats. Clearly not students from our school. I forced myself to stay calm. Su Yin, run and report to the teacher right now. If I get hurt today, you'll be an accomplice. Su Yin looked innocent. It's not my fault. I already advised Hao, but he wouldn't listen. Qiaowen, just issuing a statement isn't hard. Why can't we just let each other go? The hooligans slammed their bats onto the desk. Deafening crack. The homeroom teacher returned to grab something and saw me cornered by those unsavory characters. She merely snickered, always causing trouble again. Why is it always you? I quickly pleaded, teacher. They're street thugs hired by Yin Hao. They're going to beat me. Please help me. Yin Hao looked slightly flustered, but the teacher patted his shoulder. Yin Hao, as class leader, you're model student with excellent character. Impossible to do something like this. It's your own fault for stirring trouble. Don't blame others. One hand can't clap alone. You must have done something to provoke them. I've got to get home to prepare my lesson. Not wasting time on your nonsense. She grabbed her prepared textbook from the balcony and walked away without looking back. Yin Hao burst into laughter. Qiaowen, see, tattling does nothing. No one will help someone like you. Be sensible. Apologize and issue that statement now, or you'll suffer tonight. The gang slowly closed in on me. I pointed at the classroom surveillance camera. Yin Hao, aren't you afraid at all? He showed no fear. The security camera's already been shut off. Do you really think I'm as dumb as Gu Yanxi? a wave of despair washed over me. Was I really going to have to give in and step aside for the heroine? The red-haired one couldn't wait any longer. With a fierce swing, he brought the bat down. Are you going to listen, you damn bitch? If not, I'll take half your life tonight. Ian House suddenly smiled. Xiaowen, I gave you a chance. Now I've run out of patience. Take a beating first, then we'll talk. He walked out, signaling the thugs to attack. Just then, someone suddenly charged into the classroom screaming, brandishing a spear. Xiaowen, run. Chen Yutong waved the spear wildly, pulling me toward the door. The thugs chased after us. We sprinted straight toward the security office. Seeing the situation deteriorated, the thugs panicked and fled, but suddenly, a group of athletes emerged from nowhere and caught them. Chen Yutong panted, thank goodness I arrived in time. Did they hurt you? I burst into tears and hugged her tightly. Chen Yutong, you're my savior. I called the police. The officers took away the thugs, along with Yin Hao and Su Yin. I handed the video evidence from my phone to the officers and made a copy. The next day, I posted it on the school's forum. The homeroom teacher, who had done nothing despite witnessing the assault, was expelled for condoning violence against students. Yin Hao and Su Yin were both given major disciplinary records. Since no serious injury occurred, they weren't prosecuted by law. However, receiving a major demerit before graduation effectively ruined their futures. No reputable university would admit a student with such a record. Their permanent files would carry this stain forever, an indelible mark of disgrace. We got a new homeroom teacher, temporarily assigned by the vice principal. He was kind, responsible, and fair. Under his protection, my remaining days at school passed smoothly. He even offered me a chance to be directly admitted to Peking University, but I still didn't give up studying. I wanted to take the college entrance exam, not only to prove my strength, but also to add an extra layer of protection. I can't guarantee that Su Yinin's heroine aura will fade completely. Sure enough, a month before the college entrance exam, my mother came out of prison. Her first act upon release was to come find me and settle the score. Ignoring that I was in class, she barged into the classroom, attempting to attack me. Thankfully, my teachers and classmates managed to hold her back. School security arrived shortly after and pulled her away. Even so, she glared at me fiercely and warned, Xiaowen, I raised you for 18 years and gave you life. Is this how you repay me? Unless you pay back every penny of the child support you owe me, I will never let you be. I knew she felt invincible, unafraid of losing me, because she believed Su Yinin could become her obedient daughter, someone she could rely on in the future. Then let me shatter that fantasy myself. I used a secondary account to message my mother, sending her a video. It was footage captured by our home surveillance. My father and Su Yinin had done unspeakable things when we weren't around. Her beloved niece had long been having an affair with my father. No wonder my father stood idly by while she mistreated me, her own blood daughter, and spoiled that girl instead. All that wealth, hard-earned, real money, was paying for that filth. My mother went mad upon seeing the video. She called me on voice chat repeatedly, but I blocked her instantly. I didn't want to get involved in their sordid mess. I only wanted them tearing each other apart. That way, they'd have no time to bother me. The next day, Su Yinin called in sick. She didn't show up the day after either. Rumors began spreading around school. Some said Su Yinin dared not come to school because of me. Her heroine aura worked its magic again. Classmates quickly forgot her past cruelty and started feeling sorry for her. Actually, we can't blame Yingying. She didn't do anything wrong. Sure, Han Yi and Gu Yanxi bullied others, but wasn't it their own choice to protect her? Why blame Su Yinin? Yeah, she never bullied anyone. Why are we treating her so harshly? Chen Yutong rolled her eyes and shouted, do you all have brain damage? Su Yinin didn't lift a finger, but if she hadn't faked innocence and falsely accused others of bullying her, would Han Yi and Gu Yanxi even have stepped in? She reaps all the benefits while dumping the blame on others. Such a pure little lotus flower. Hypocritical. Those who'd been bullied were outraged. They thought Chen Yutong was just jealous of Su Yinin. You're in cahoots with Xiaowen, of course you side with her. It's just because Xiaowen gave you money when your grandma was sick. Now you're her lapdog. Chen Yutong was angry, but she stood her ground and nodded. So what if I'm her dog? Her money saved my grandma's life. She's my only family. I was stunned for a second before remembering. It was way back when we still attended junior high. My parents weren't treating me that badly then. I had saved up every bit of my monthly allowance and scholarship. When I learned Chen Yutong's grandma was hospitalized and couldn't afford treatment, I handed over my entire savings. After that, we became good friends, later even graduating to the same high school and becoming classmates. Just as everyone was arguing, the vice principal walked into the classroom. The room fell instantly silent. The vice principal looked at me with a heavy expression and called me out. "Your family's in trouble." When I got home, smoke was still rising from the house. 3 corpses were carried out: my father, my mother, and Su Yinin, dead. Our home was a stand-alone villa, so no one else was affected. After investigation, it was confirmed my mother had set the fire deliberately. Large amounts of sleeping pills were found in the stomachs of my father and Su Yinin. All doors and windows were locked from the inside, yet both the mobile phones and home surveillance system had been destroyed. Therefore, the motive behind her arson killing her own family remains a mystery, but I knew very well, my mother must have gone completely insane after being triggered by that video. Her beloved niece, whom she cared for deeply, had betrayed her. Her husband, the man she loved, had deceived her. Everyone consoled me, urging me to just get over it. All I could do was force down the smile tugging at my lips. Pretending to be heartbroken, no one knew. This entire situation had been orchestrated by me behind the scenes. When Gu Yanxi bullied me, the reporters bursting in were due to my prior call. I deliberately provoked him in front of so many people, making him push me in public. That had the corner of the table. It was perfectly calculated. The video of my mother attacking me. I recorded it myself after the suicide incident, as evidence. As for my father and Su Yinin, there had only ever been hints between them, but they'd never actually taken the final step. After all, Su Yinin was the sweet romance novel's heroine. She couldn't possibly be involved with anyone other than the male lead. But who was to stop it, when neither I nor my mother were home during that time, and Gu Yanxi was conveniently locked away in prison? Yet in the end, I was most grateful to my deranged mother. She'd already had a history of bipolar disorder. While in prison, she'd run out of medication, learning that both her husband and niece had betrayed her. Of course she'd lose her mind. The heroine was dead, the novel's world collapsed, and I, finally free from the narrative's grip, could live for myself. I inherited my father's estate and enrolled in the university I'd always dreamed of. After graduation, I co-founded a business with Chen Yutong, once financially independent. We established a foundation dedicated to helping bullied students and children unable to afford school due to poverty. Years later, I ran into Yin Hao and Gu Yanxi again. Yin Hao never made it to university. Instead, he got a job at his family's factory. After his father's death in an accident, the factory shut down. Now he's drowning in debt and has become a debtor, a ghost of his former self. Gu Yanxi was released from prison after 1 year, only to find his father had already given birth to a younger brother. Jealous of losing his father's affection and future inheritance, he pushed his own younger sibling out of a window. As a result, he spent over a decade behind bars before being released. The Gu family would never accept him again. Now he drifts the streets, reduced to drinking and whoring, hanging out with Yin Hao. As 2 lost souls, each lost to ruin, the 2 of us passed by them without recognition. I almost didn't recognize them either. Chen Yutong laughed. "Look at that, bad people eventually get their comeuppance." I took her arm, smiling silently. Bad people aren't always punished by heaven. Sometimes, they're simply consumed by someone even worse. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Facing the prospect of being sent down to the countryside after high school graduation, my foster mother, worried I was too weak to survive the ordeal, hastily arranged a fiancé for me, insisting we marry before the official notice arrived. That day, clutching the final 12 yuan I'd received as a hero's child stipend before turning 18, I returned home, unexpectedly. Peering through the gap under the door, I witnessed a scene utterly absorbed in passion. Simultaneously, a stream of pop-up comments flooded my vision, thrilling: a 18-year-old male wolf and a 36-year-old mature flower. So exciting. Stop. Secondary female character. Open the door, and you're done for. My hand, already half raised, slowly withdrew. I instinctively stepped back 2 paces. What's going on? Did our beautiful, tragic, unlucky secondary character actually stop? The scripts actually changed. I thought the writer was so stubborn. Even billionaires couldn't bribe him into changing it. Breaking news. Billionaire just upped the bid to an entire planet's ownership rights. Bought the rights outright. Wow, so it's really changed. I remember the original plot clearly. She pushes open the door, catches her fiancé and foster mother entwined and making out. The shock triggers a heart attack. She's rushed to hospital. Exactly, after she's hospitalized. That bastard of a husband, freaking scared she'll spill the beans, secretly disconnects her just before she dies. Her condition worsens rapidly and she's gone within days. I tried hard to focus on the info about the interstellar billionaire pouring money into the script. Too hard. Without time to process further, I clutched my chest, feeling my heartbeat racing uncontrollably, leaning against the corridor pillar. I fought to steady my breath. In that moment, memories surfaced, unnoticed before, scenes from our arranged meeting, where I'd casually seen them exchanging glances, butterflies in my stomach at the time, dismissed as coincidence. Now, the reality of what I'd just witnessed, their frenzied, unrestrained passion, sent a wave of nausea surging through my gut. Suddenly, I realized I was nothing more than a background character in this scandalous, taboo sibling love affair between my fiancé and my foster mother. The guy I was marrying, my fiancé, was the male lead, and the woman who had moved in after my parents' deaths, who had raised me, lived with me, and cared for me from then on, the official foster mother, was the female lead. Today, in the story, I walked in on their secret. The shock sent me to the hospital. The hero rushed beside me with exaggerated devotion, playing the perfect, filial boyfriend, earning praise from everyone, but in reality, he feared I'd expose their shame. He quietly pulled out my worsening my condition. I didn't last long. My heart gave out. Later, he claimed he was heartbroken, vowed never to remarry, then brought his mother figure back into his life to care for. Owing to his deep love for me, my father's old comrades took pity on him, arranged a job for him so he wouldn't be sent down, and made sure his career flourished. And secretly, they had a child together. Pretended the baby was my adoptive son. Registered under my dead name, and inherited my vast fortune without question. I couldn't take it anymore. I staggered out of the corridor, into the garden, and threw up violently. In the garden, a row of wintergreen my father once planted thrived, densely thick, perfectly shielding me from view. Just then, the room door opened. A man with a sharply defined, square-jawed face stepped out, his face still glowing with satisfaction, but as soon as he stepped into the hallway, his expression quickly shifted to panic. Jiang, are you okay? I'll take you to the hospital right now. Yet, there was no one at the door. His face collapsed instantly. I instinctively held my breath, trying to vanish. Wait, Jiang, I heard my foster mother, Aunt Jo, her voice frantic and panicked. Don't be scared, It's not Jiang, it was just the wind today. Strong gusts. I thought I heard her come back. Gu Zhenguo rushed to comfort the figure he held in his arms, oblivious to the emptiness of the space. Aunt Jo gently pushed him. You'd better go, Jiang's almost back. You just promised me you'd stay with her and live peacefully. She can't take any shock. Her heart's weak. Of course. My sister's always right. He kissed her on the cheek before finally leaving. Auntie Zhou's face was all scowls. At 36 or 7, she still acts like a little girl. And calling me big sister, ugh. I silently watched the barrage of commentaries, frozen stiff, not daring to move until Gu Zhen's state left the little courtyard, until Auntie Zhou muttered to herself about how I hadn't come back yet and then walked back into the house. Only then did I finally release my tension, collapsing onto the nearby bench, unconsciously tearing at the bayberry leaves beside me, struggling to steady my breathing. What the hell did I ever do to deserve this kind of disgust? The screen in front of me was exploding with comments. Dude, what the hell? Gu Zhen's reaction just now was off. He said he was taking her to hospital even before he saw her. I was gonna ask, why does it feel like Gu Zhen deliberately let the secondary character catch them? No way. He's already planning to inherit the entire estate. Run, secondary character. You're a fragile little thing. There's no way you can beat these two rotten bastards and bitches. Seeing all the comments screaming at me to run, my mood gradually calmed. Right, I'd noticed too. The way Gujan reacted earlier had been strange. Everyone knows heart patients can't handle shocks, yet he immediately suggested rushing me to the hospital. There were only two possible explanations: either I just caught them in the act, and it was all planned by him, or he'd seen me standing at the door before I even walked in. I didn't know how this commentary system worked, but deep down, I was truly grateful, without it distracting me. I doubted I wouldn't have collapsed from the shock of that first scene. It wasn't about love, or forbidden passion, or betrayal. Just the sheer emotional explosion was enough to shatter my control. I remained expressionless, a small pile of torn bayberry leaves scattered beside my hands. Each dark green leaf seemed to reflect my father's handsome, resolute face. Only softening when he looked at me, he said, "Jiang, don't be afraid. Daddy's here." I blinked back the sudden moisture in my eyes, gently brushing my fingers over the evergreen bayberry leaves, and smiled. "Dad, if they're so in love, why don't you just lock them in together? Everyone else would probably wish them well, just like me." My naturally refined, naturally smiling features suddenly lit up like they were bathed in soft light. The comments erupted again. The secondary character's gone insane. She's actually smiling. How can she still smile? SSSS, she's gorgeous, really. No wonder she's the fairy tale white moon in our villain's heart. Hey, if only our villain had come back earlier. What would this guy have had to do with anything? Villain, white moon, who? I paused for a moment, confused, but it didn't matter. The immediate crisis before me, however, was urgent. The wedding was clearly off, but there was still Auntie Zhou, far more complicated. Auntie Zhou was my father's matchmaker date, my official adoptive mother. My mom died during childbirth, only a couple of years after I was born. At the time, my dad was already a regiment commander, young, brilliant, good-looking, with only one daughter, and a hefty dowry to consider. He was the kind of gold digger's dream in the matchmaking market. Countless people approached him, his superiors, comrades, neighbors, but my dad had no intention of remarrying. He'd politely decline whenever possible, and if not, he'd meet them once and then say no. Auntie Zhou was one of those. When my father passed away, I was already 15. At that age, I could have managed alone, but upon hearing the news, I was so traumatized I fainted and was rushed to the hospital. That's when they discovered I'd had heart problems all along. They weren't obvious under normal circumstances, but emotional shocks could trigger serious reactions. Fortunately, as long as I took precautions, I could live like anyone else. My father's superiors and comrades were all aware of my situation. Born prematurely and weakly, I now had a heart condition as well, usually fine, but if something happened and no one noticed, it could cost my life. My father left me as his only child, and everyone treated me as a responsibility, wanting to take me home to care for. In those years of scarcity, taking care of one more person, especially someone frail and needing delicate attention, was no easy task. I didn't want to burden anyone. Just then, my adoptive mother, Aunt Zhou, stepped forward. Her real name was Zhou Area, but she later changed it to Zhou Area. She was the nurse assigned to my bedside at the hospital. In her earlier years, she had married someone back in her hometown, but he had died while digging a water channel. Since then, she'd remained unmarried, without children of her own. Many had introduced potential suitors to her over the years, but she'd never taken anyone up. Some said she still harbored feelings for her late husband. Others claimed she was still deeply in love with him. There were all kinds of rumors, but now, she spoke up and offered to care for me. Many people recalled that long ago, someone had tried to set her up with my dad, and perhaps that was the reason she'd held on to such feelings all along. When asked about it, she always looked down with red eyes, heartbroken, but never denied it. I, too, believed she must have been drawn to my father. After all, he seemed perfect in every way. Seeing us both as lonely souls, I quietly accepted her closeness. Eventually, after discussions among the involved parties, she officially became my temporary guardian and, on paper, my adoptive mother. She left the hospital's collective dormitory and moved into the guest room in this small courtyard, becoming my companion. As for the fiancé who was supposed to officially marry me the day after I turned 18, well, That didn't matter much, I'd only met him 3 times, and not even today. Recently, there'd been rumors that any graduates without jobs or families would be sent down to the countryside. Worried about my fragile health, Aunt Jo said she arranged this match for me since my body wasn't fit for regular labor, and no company would even hire me. The man came from a financially stable family, had excellent character, knew how to behave, kept quiet when needed, took good care of people, and wasn't stingy with money. Aunt Jo insisted he was her colleague's son, someone she knew well, trustworthy and reliable. I figured, just get through this one hurdle. If it didn't work out, we could always split, with a little compensation. I wasn't short on money anyway, but I never imagined they'd pull this kind of stunt, knowing the family, through such a dirty scheme. So though I felt betrayed, my grief was minimal. What truly worried me was what would come next. I rubbed my face, for half a second. I wondered whether to stay hidden until Aunt Jo left for work or to go out now. Then I straightened my clothes and walked out, appearing completely calm. In the living room, my adoptive mother, mid-30s, well-preserved, with a radiant beauty, was holding a brand new watch, her expression like that of a young girl, shy, thrilled, yet conflicted. I studied her without expression. I'd never noticed before, but now, everything felt off. Hearing my footsteps, she instinctively tried to hide the watch, but realizing how obvious her reaction was, she abruptly froze, then looked at me with a flicker of guilt in her eyes. I glanced at the watch, judging by its bright, fresh look. It must have been a recent gift, just given by the man named Gu, and sure enough, the commentary exploded again. Oh my, this is the fated trinket the story's narrator mentioned. This engagement gift they showed off so proudly, yeah. The dog of a male lead really loves his embellishments, buying tickets back and forth, and now this watch, nearly 200 yuan gone. They've spent their entire wedding fund already. Wait, I wonder if he ever really meant to marry her at all. I think you've got it. Upstairs, I paused slightly in my step, then plastered a look of delighted surprise onto my face. Wow, Aunt Jo, this watch is stunning. Is this the dowry you've been promising me? Yes. The dowry was something Aunt Arya bestowed upon me, and that still gave me an excuse. If the watch had been given by Mr. Gu as wedding money, then the marriage fell through, the money would have to be returned. I truly despised them both, but this watch, worth over 100 yuan, something I couldn't get even with tickets, was definitely real. So I grabbed the watch right from her hand, suppressed my revulsion, slipped it onto my wrist, and praised it cheerfully. Uncle Zhou, you're really amazing. Mom, if she were still alive, she probably wouldn't have spared such a lavish gift as a watch for my dowry. I truly consider myself lucky to have you as my foster mother. I mentally apologized, though I'd never met my real mother. According to my father, she loved me dearly, so I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I said something like this now. Zhou Arya choked slightly. Her eyes couldn't tear away from the watch, caught in hesitation over her words. I pretended not to notice the shifting expressions on her face. I sat down beside her on the sofa, lowering my voice flirtatiously, with a shy look on my face. Uncle Zhou, there's something I'd like your advice on. Okay. I didn't wait for her response before continuing. We agreed to get married just 3 days after I turned 18. Shouldn't we do it then? Marrying is a huge thing, and of course, I must bring a dowry. Other things are fine, but everything in our family is mine. It can all be part of the dowry. Without changing my expression, I watched her closely, clearly seeing the unguarded joy flicker in her eyes. Asterisk, so it's true. Asterisk, I thought. Asterisk, money does move a person's heart. Asterisk, knowing I had money wasn't a secret. I had the pension, my father's old allowances, and even a monthly allowance during my minority, money that added up to a substantial sum. I wasn't completely without caution. But over the years we've lived together, she never asked about my finances. In fact, she often said she'd never remarry and wanted to stay with me forever, even joking that she'd save up money for my dowry and help me raise my own kids one day. Because of this, I'd never been overly wary of her, but I still wondered, was she planning this from the very beginning, or had her intentions changed recently? I lowered my gaze, feigning deep concern. But, shouldn't I get something for Zhenguo brother too? I've been wondering, what should I get? You gave me this watch. Maybe I could buy him one as well, though, finding the tickets is tough. There was no way I'd actually give him a watch. If she's only after my money, then just holding onto a high-value item like a watch could temporarily appease her. Sure enough, Zhou Area immediately suppressed the words she'd been about to say. Her expression lighting up as she eagerly offered suggestions. No tickets, right, those are hard to get, big organizations only receive a few per year. Honestly, why not just buy an imported watch? It's pricier, sure, but Zhengguo's a man, you know, it'll make him look good in front of others. I gave a faintly reluctant expression. After all, a good imported watch cost at least 300 or 400 yuan, more than a worker's annual salary. Zhou Area subtly pushed the point. Zhengguo's such a good kid, he treats you so well. Can you ever remember him letting you come back empty-handed? If you gift him something nice, won't he love you even more in return? Really, you're serious? I seemed persuaded, my head dipping lower, but inside I had already figured it out. Zhou Area really didn't know that Gu's family was out to kill me. Otherwise, if I died, they could easily transfer my assets to themselves. In that case, why would she bother so much over something as trivial as upgrading a wristwatch? She kept going. Of course it's true. I wouldn't lie to you, would I, my dear child? Then she launched into a long, rambling discourse on marriage. How to be a good wife, how to respect your husband's words, always give him face, be gentle and gracious, and in return, he'll treat you like a queen at home, doing laundry, cooking, even fetching foot baths. I couldn't bear hearing another word. Ah. Uncle Zhou, why do you always say all these things? You're making me feel awkward. I cut her off mid-sentence, darting back into my room and shutting the door behind me, right as her soft, affectionate voice reached me. Ah, this child. At that moment, I was already leaning against the wall, dry heaving, my heart thumping in pain again. Since she moved in, I'd feel more like sharing a household with a roommate than a mother figure. I could cook my own meals, wash my own clothes. I had my father's savings, the pension he received after his sacrifice, and even a monthly 12 yuan allowance before I turned 18. Though we lived together, we never mixed our money. I went to school, she went to work, each of us had our own responsibilities, and we never kept track of who paid for which meal. For 3 years, our relationship had remained harmonious. I thought that even if we weren't the closest of companions, at least there was some bond of companionship between us. Sometimes I even felt a little guilty toward her. This small courtyard was close to the school. My father bought it back when I got accepted into high school, to make commuting easier, but he passed away before I could even move in. When Zhou Erfa wanted to move in with me, I instinctively didn't want a third person entering the house and disrupting the traces of my father's presence. So I chose this quiet courtyard instead of the two-entrance Sihiyuan, the one truly home in the family's legacy. I never expected, I didn't let myself dwell too long in these useless emotions. After calming my breathing, I reached for the medicine I'd kept in my room earlier, swallowed 2 pills dry, felt a little better, then allowed myself to lie down on the bed, my gaze returning to the scrolling comments. The stream of comments was now buzzing with excitement. Still discussing my earlier mention of buying a watch, I smiled faintly, almost speaking to myself. Just buying a watch to stall things, gives me time to think, can't let them panic too soon. Yes, think, I had no job, marrying a stranger on a whim was risky. As for the rest, maybe I could pick a village not too far from a hospital, or perhaps there were villages near the military district's housing complex. I wondered if they still needed educated youth there. People from those villages could get medical care at the district's clinic. That might work, too. But I certainly couldn't just vanish into some place completely unfamiliar, with a town miles away requiring long, arduous journeys through mountainous trails. That'd be tantamount to suicide for me. And as for those two, I wanted to do something, but I had no evidence. My body couldn't handle any more strain. Fighting head-on would only get me destroyed, until I secured my own escape route. I couldn't afford to move, had to hide, stay hidden, stay far away. I blinked, clearing the moisture from my eyes, clutching the rabbit toy my father had stitched for me by hand. I buried my face deeper into the pillow. Dad, am I useless, just barely managing to tread carefully like this? The comments erupted in celebration. We knew it, our heroine's so clever. Exactly, her dad was a big shot, too bad he died too soon. Otherwise, How could those two trashy protagonists ever schemed against her? Earlier situations had been so intense, my body had always been fragile. Now, worn out, I could barely keep my eyelids open. In the blurred edge of consciousness, I saw the spare, almost empty room with only basic necessities. My gaze lingered on the door locked from the inside. Then I let myself drift into sleep. Thankfully, this small courtyard held few important things. If I needed to leave, all I'd need was the little rabbit and my most essential documents. When I woke up, Jo Urfa was already at work. I grabbed my household registration book, now only with my single page, and all the necessary documents. I brought along 2 packs of good cigarettes and a box of chocolate, then headed straight for the Youth Mobilization Office. At the beginning of the urban-to-rural mobilization campaign, the office was quiet and nearly empty. When they saw me arrive, the staff instantly warmed up. "Miss, you're going down to the countryside. Oh, what a magnificent chance. You're so enlightened. Vast open fields await you." I smiled shyly. "I just wanted to ask." The staff didn't give up, chattering on. "The earlier you sign up, the better. You can still choose a favorable location now. Everyone has to go, 1 per family. Except families with only 1 child. If you wait too long, you get assigned wherever they decide." The more I listened, the more wrong it felt. 1 from each family. Only children don't have to go down. Are you an only child? The staff members glanced at each other, then quickly flipped through my file. I nodded silently. "And do you have chronic heart disease requiring long-term medication?" "Not again." The staff scanned the section for parents, exchanged glances, and their expressions turned grim. "Daughter, having high ideals is great, but we must consider reality. We don't necessarily need to go to the countryside to contribute to society. Given your situation, going down there isn't suitable." They pleaded earnestly. Her father was a martyr. Her mother had passed away long ago, leaving the young girl as the sole heir, suffering from heart disease. Who could possibly approve such a move? Worse, they feared I might stubbornly insist on going to the countryside no matter what. I walked out of the youth relocation office in silence, my pockets still stuffed with the items I hadn't even had a chance to take out. So, I wasn't really the one originally meant to be sent down. That made sense. Gu family had several children. If it wasn't Gu who needed to go, then Jo Erya and the others wouldn't have so desperately targeted me. After all, she's my foster mother, and I have no other family. If something happened to me, she could inherit my property without needing to marry me at all. Suddenly, I ran right into a youth stepping out from the opposite direction. "Defense Department, Jiang." His voice was smooth and pleasant, vaguely familiar. I blinked in confusion and looked up. The youth, who had been in a hurry a moment ago, suddenly stopped in place and gently poked my forehead. "I'm your older brother Chi, remember?" I instinctively touched my head. A scene flashed through my mind. Years ago, when I still lived in my father's family compound, there really was a super handsome older brother in the courtyard. He used to come over all the time, shadowing my father as he practiced martial arts. Enduring exhaustion and tears without quitting, he'd bring me delicious snacks and toys too. But after his father was reassigned, he left with him. For the first couple of years after they went, he still sent letters and packages. After that, the letters and gifts stopped. I heard he'd been picked for some special training program. After my father's death, I moved away from the compound and lost all contact. It had been over 5 years since we last saw each other. The comments exploded into frenzy. Villain boss, my villain boss come out already. Damn, those legs, that waist, that face. Much better than the male lead's plain, square mug. Baby, eat something good. This male lead dog doesn't deserve you. I blinked, dazedly staring at the clear-faced young man before me. My heart fluttered uncontrollably. He was the villain. Something wrong, unwell. Chi Yen, who had been anxiously expecting this little girl after so long, felt his chest tighten, but when he noticed her breath was irregular, his face paled instantly. I shook my head instinctively. Seeing his worry, I actually smiled. The comments kept slamming in. My eyes were drawn to one message. This villain really loves her. He knew the female side character had died and almost followed her into death too. Worse, he even stole her body and built a tomb in his mansion. Spends his days protecting her grave instead of dealing with the male lead. Ha ha ha. He's so in love, I'm crying, baby, you were looking for a marriage partner. Check out the villain, baby, go for it. Charge him, I order you to charge, really, even after I'm gone, he'll keep guarding my grave, alone, without a soul to care. Those words struck me deeply. I raised my soft, pale finger and gently poked his chest, hard, then glanced at his face, exquisitely handsome, perfectly sculpted, exactly the kind I like. Maybe, should we just get married? Chi Yan was momentarily stunned by the smile before him, instinctively grabbing my fingertip, but just then, someone rushed out of the Defense Department in a hurry. Upon seeing Chi Yan, their eyes lit up. Deputy, the unit is fully assembled, we're ready to depart at any moment. Chi Yan's attention snapped back. Without another word, he hastily reached into his pocket, pulled out a few bills for himself, and shoved the rest into my pocket, then left only a single phrase behind, be good. Take care of yourself first, I'll come find you once I'm back. I've transferred to the Armed Forces Department now. In the future, he didn't say what came next. He looked deeply into my eyes, then turned away and left, getting into the jeep that had pulled up. It all happened too fast. I watched the jeep and several following trucks drive off into the distance, my heart feeling hollow. If it weren't for the thick wad of cash and bills stuffed in my pocket, I'd have thought it was all just a dream. I recalled the words I'd almost spoken instinctively, only to be unexpectedly cut off, so I let out a self-deprecating laugh and shook my head. The comments were in chaos, screaming and howling like ghosts. Maybe it was because the memories of earlier peaceful times with Yuan were too deep. Even after so many years apart, meeting Chi Yan again still gave me a sense of security, or perhaps I was simply caught up in the light-hearted mood of the comments. My steps back home felt lighter than before. When I got home, I packed up the doll, some clothes, and other personal belongings, preparing to disappear for a while, since it was supposed to be the guy surnamed Gu who'd be assigned to the countryside. And since I, the bride-to-be, refused to register the marriage, I wondered, would he find someone else, or would he end up marrying Aunt Jo just to stay connected? Actually, I was starting to look forward to it, but just as I grabbed my bundle and stepped out the door, before even locking it, I ran straight into the last person I wanted to see. My breath caught. I forced on my usual courteous smile. Brother Zhenghua. When Gu Zhenghua saw me, he hurried forward and quickly reached out to take the bundle from my hand. Chang, where are you going? You're not well. Don't lift heavy things. We're about to get married, so just tell me if there's anything tough to do. Brother Zhenggua's here. You'll never get hurt. He blocked the doorway, took the bundle, and tried to pull me back inside. His face wore a warm smile, but his eyes were cold, coldly scanning me from head to toe. I felt every hair on my body stand on end. Goosebumps rising in waves, my mind screamed in alarm. The neighbors' aunties and old ladies outside were gossiping while peeling vegetables and stitching shoe soles. Now they laughed at the commotion. Chang picked a good one, so considerate and observant. His family's well off too. Heard his whole family are official workers. His mom's a head nurse, his dad's a department head at a state factory, and his brother and sister both have jobs too. Right. These days, a guy with such good manners and presence is hard to find. Look at that strong, handsome face. Perfect match for our Chang. I listened to their chatter, nearly losing control of my expression, but their voices reminded me of something. Right now, there were too many people around. He wouldn't dare do anything to me in front of them. Once I realized that, my nerves eased. I smiled, and handed over the bundle. Not anything important. Just a few sets of clothes. We're getting married soon, so I need to get a few new outfits, but I can't just throw away the old ones. My cotton jacket's got lumpy padding now. I thought I'd take it to a tailor, have them take it apart, and repack the batting. There really were a few cotton coats inside, lightweight enough that he couldn't check them without raising suspicion on the spot, so my claim was perfectly honest. I had no intention of confronting him now, so I continued smoothly. Perfect timing, you're here. We still have 2 big winter quilts at home. They're too bulky for me to carry alone. If you're free, why don't you come with me to drop them off? Gu Zhenghua seemed to relax, his expression loosening slightly. Great, getting them repadded will keep them warm. I'll bring Aunt Jo's quilt too. She's looked after you all these years. It's only right I thank her on your behalf. A wave of nausea washed over me, but I nodded along cheerfully. Absolutely, she deserves a proper thank you. I pulled out the watch from my pocket, waving it proudly. See, Aunt Jo gave me this, years ago. She said she'd save up to buy me a big gift for my wedding. I never thought she'd actually give me a brand new watch right this moment. Aunt Jo really loves me. Gu Zhenguo stared at the watch before him, once a cherished token he'd given as a token of affection, and his expression instantly froze. Zhou, for you. His voice trembled with disbelief, laced with a hint of hurt, clearly. The feelings ran deep, the barrage of comments erupted again. My colleague's son is true love, our Aunt Jo really knows how to live well. I wonder if the guy's parents would fall apart if they knew about this. Sounds like the guy's parents were too strict back then. Aunt Jo was so gentle and caring. She hugged him and comforted him, and that's how he fell for her. He's totally smitten, you know what I mean, sisters. Wait. Yeah. I get it. Though he's still just a baby, isn't he? I bit back laughter at the comments and just nodded slowly. Yes, indeed. Around me, I could hear neighboring aunties and middle-aged women praising me. They all declared how kind and generous I was, how good I was to Aunt Jo, and how I must repay her kindness with filial piety. I smiled warmly. Yes, Aunt Jo is the best. I'll cherish this watch. It's proof of our special bond. I nearly gagged at my own words. Something in those words must have triggered Gu Zhenguo. Without another word, he turned and walked away, but conscious of his image, he still managed to say, "Oh, I suddenly remembered I have something to do. Wait here for me, I'll come back and help you take your bedding." I looked slightly dazed, as if caught off guard. The surrounding aunties and women were speechless. Just a moment ago, they'd called him dependable. A kind-hearted auntie offered to help me deliver the items, including my quilt. Just like I'd mentioned earlier, I quickly shook my head. No need, Zhenguo brother said I should wait for him. The women murmured, tch, in mild disbelief but didn't press further. I took a few steps forward, then pretended to murmur casually to myself, I wonder why Zhenguo brother is so busy. We've only met 3 times since the arranged meeting. The first time, we watched a movie, with Aunt Jo sitting right between us. The second and third times we went out alone, though we just walked around the supply cooperative, and the snacks we bought, all stuff Aunt Jo likes. I even had an allergic reaction eating them. Now he's sending me to show filial piety to Aunt Jo, then leaves me standing here. Anyone who didn't know better might think this girl's his match for Aunt Jo. The surrounding aunties and old ladies exchanged glances. So many ears were listening. Suddenly, one of them remembered something. Wait. Only 3 meetings. I've seen you at least half a dozen times these last few days. Didn't he just come by this morning? Stayed here for nearly an hour. Wait, what? I didn't know. Aunt Jo didn't tell me. I tossed out the remark and walked away, the tone of my voice tinged with genuine regret at not having seen my boyfriend left behind. The aunties erupted in excitement. These old gossips had heard it all. Nothing shocked them anymore, combined with their vivid imaginations. My words fueled a flood of wildly imaginative stories, spreading at lightning speed through the neighborhood. Zhou Erya returned home with Gu Zhenguo, the two walking ahead of each other at a slight distance, yet still, they sensed the strange, knowing glances from the surrounding people. Zhou Erya wasn't talkative. Gu Zhenguo wasn't familiar with most of them, so he just walked on without noticing. The two entered the courtyard in silence, while the aunties and women in the alley behind them whispered, exaggerated their expressions, gesticulated wildly, even began counting time as they stared fixedly at the front door. Meanwhile, I had already returned to the old house, the same 2-aisle courtyard behind Hohai that had once been my father's home. Arriving back here, I finally relaxed completely. For the past few years, whenever I missed my father, I'd sneak over here every few days when Aunt Jo was at work. The house was always kept neat and ready to live in. I lit the stove, boiled some water, reheated the meal I'd casually grabbed from the state-owned restaurant earlier, and slowly sat down to eat at the table. I scrolled through the comments, eating my meal. The comments on the screen were filled with ridicule directed at the male and female leads, along with praise for the old auntie's storytelling skills. I found it thoroughly entertaining. Only when I caught sight of my smiling face reflected in the rice spoon did I suddenly realize, aha, I actually had the mood to enjoy this drama now. The next day, the sun was bright. After a good night's sleep, I packed up my things mid-morning and returned to my previous small courtyard house. I planned to slip back while Joe area was at work, show my face to those aunties, and vaguely explain where I'd been, so they wouldn't report me missing. When I'd first unexpectedly met the man with the surname Gu, I'd only focused on setting a trap for him. I had completely forgotten that Joe area was my legal guardian. If she couldn't find me, she might very well report me to the police. But just as I stepped into the alleyway, I was abruptly pulled aside by the aunties. Jiang, where were you last night? You don't know your Aunt Zhou and that young man, Gu Zhenghua or Zhangwo, spent the whole night together. What? I genuinely didn't know that. Last night, I did check the comments while eating, but after a while I nodded off. The comments this morning didn't mention anything either. Still, a chill crept through my mind. If I hadn't come home last night, I'd have probably bumped into them again, most likely. That bastard hadn't been provoked enough yesterday and was trying the same trick again today. I wasn't sure what role Zhou area was playing in this, but honestly, did it even matter? Keeping my distance was the smart move. I lowered my eyes, deep in thought. These aunties truly meant well. They worried I wasn't grasping the situation, so they explained it for me. Dearie, it's all just the same old story between men and women. Your Aunt Zhou may be older, but she looks barely over 30. Some men go for that kind, don't mind the blunt talk, but since you don't have any family around, I'm telling you straight. I nodded stiffly. So, what should I do then? The aunties exchanged glances. It wasn't too hard to solve, yet not so easy either. The core issue was, you could only cheat if you actually caught them in bed, something they had no concrete proof of. One of them hesitated, finally speaking up. How about delaying the wedding a bit? Yeah, we'll keep an eye on things. If the guy's not trustworthy, we won't go through with it. No sense rushing into the fire. I nodded repeatedly. I'll follow whatever the aunties advise. Seeing how obedient I was, the aunties felt especially accomplished. They eagerly threw out suggestions until we finally agreed. I'd hide out at a classmate's place for a few days, while the neighbor aunties kept watch at my house. If we caught them in the act, we could immediately call off the wedding. If not, well, we'd cross that bridge when we came to it. Especially when I mentioned I wouldn't be sent down to the countryside, the aunties became even more convinced. Zhou area's sudden rush to arrange this marriage was suspicious to the core. I was genuinely in high spirits. After sorting everything out with the aunties, I opened the door and stepped into the courtyard. Under their protection, I gathered the remaining few pounds of fine grain, rice, wheat flour, and eggs, to thank them for their trouble. I gave each auntie 2 eggs, then, with the rest in hand, I strolled leisurely away. Unbeknownst to me, I passed by the gate of the local armed forces office again. 2 young guards were chatting. I heard that Deputy Director Chi used to be stationed in that place, the one with the iconic rank sign. He raised his thumb. He served 5 years there, then came back. So many military regions wanted to snatch him up, but he refused them all and applied for discharge instead. Oddly enough, he chose to settle right here. I instinctively slowed my pace. The keywords rang in my ears. I subtly leaned in, ears perked. Why would someone like that leave a prestigious post just to resign? What's the deal? Who knows? Maybe he's got someone special waiting for him here. I saw Director Chi literally smiling at a little girl just yesterday. Couldn't stop grinning. I instinctively glanced at the screen. Sure enough, there was the answer. LMAO. The villain's just here for the side character. He's been counting down her marriage age, planning to swoop in and take advantage of proximity, but someone else got there first. Ahaha, I'm dying. I heard the villain's secretly a crybaby in private. Newbie, wanna see? I stopped walking, silently nodding in my heart. Yeah, I want to see too. In the story, the villain won't have time to check up on the side character's info until a few days later. He discovers the next day is exactly when the side character was supposed to get married to the male lead. His buttons weren't buttoned properly. He rushed straight to the marriage office, intending to snatch her. Exactly. He waited all day and nothing happened. Later, he found out she was already dead. The villain fell apart. My heart's breaking. I'm gonna cry. My eyes stung slightly. Maybe it was just the realization that there's someone else in this world who genuinely cares about me. That inexplicably made me feel heartbroken, but mostly, I felt happy. I clutched my chest. Right now, My previously painful heart felt warm and cozy. I blinked, then smiled. Back in the second courtyard, I calculated the time. Our original plan was to get married the day after tomorrow, so, unless something unexpected happened, Chi Yen would return tomorrow. Thinking of the comments saying Chi Yen would hide under his blanket sobbing, my smile deepened. Maybe I should go wait at the military office tomorrow. Wouldn't want him to actually cry. He's such a grown man. How embarrassing. I suppose laughter truly can turn sorrowful. Halfway through the night, I suddenly woke up, dazed and disoriented. In the dim light, I saw the stream of comments glowing. Numerous bold, shimmering comment lines flashed past. Baby, run, the male lead's here. Too late, he's already jumped into the yard. Hide quickly. Yes, block the door with something. Is this the male lead or some lawless thug? Baby, hide, hurry. My heart lurched. How could Gu Zhenghua find me here? I hadn't even told Zhou Area about this place. I couldn't figure it out now, not with so little time. A sudden memory struck me. I instantly rolled under the bunk bed and triggered the hidden mechanism inside. This was something my dad once told me as a kid. The hiding spot in case of emergency. The door to the room was already being battered. The fragile wooden latch wouldn't hold for long. The floor beside the bed slowly slid open, revealing a narrow, one-person-sized hiding compartment. Amid cheers of "babies saved" from the comments, I quickly slipped inside. The hidden door closed slowly behind me. I lay in the dark, cramped space, listening to Gu Zhenggua's distorted voice echo from outside. You're pretty clever. Almost fooled me. Fine. I'd have had to go through extra trouble. If you got hurt, I'd have had to take you to the hospital. But now, you're completely unfamiliar with the surroundings. Killing you here, no one would ever suspect me. Just die quietly like last time. Why do you have to meddle everywhere? I held my breath, hearing his footsteps draw nearer. Last time? What does last time mean? The comments quickly clarified it for me. Is the male lead reborn? Oh no. If the male lead is reborn, does he know where the side character is hiding? No, our baby has worked so hard to hide. Why must these scumbags keep hunting her? I pressed a hand over my chest, which suddenly ached again. That familiar, suffocating breathlessness washed over me, blanketing my mind with white noise. Before I lost consciousness, I vaguely thought I heard, once more, the same clear, pleasant male voice. Must be a hallucination. Yet I couldn't help but regret not saying those words that afternoon. When I met Chi Yen, I was curious whether he'd find me again, and whether he'd bury me in his house, once more. But then, I probably wouldn't know anymore. Dad must be coming to get me soon, right? I thought I'd just fade away like this, never opening my eyes again. But amidst the blur, I seemed to hear faint voices, the very voice I'd longed to hear. Chi's choked sobs. That night, Chi had returned early. He'd bought a courtyard house next to my ancestral estate, originally intending only to tidy it up before coming to find me the next day. But fate had it that he'd just caught the sounds from my place in time. He rushed over in an emergency and brought me to the hospital. Chi had stayed by my side the entire time, speaking endlessly. He said he'd come too late, that he was sorry. He told me how he'd made a promise with my father long ago. When they grew up, he'd marry me. He recalled how, back then, my father would scold him for loudly declaring he wanted to bring home a pretty little sister, making him do push-ups every time, until he cried from exhaustion. Still, he'd persisted, just to win over his beautiful little sister. He also told me about Gu Zhenghua and Zhou Area. After digging into the truth, Chi abandoned the idea of rushing them straight to jail. Instead, he quietly amplified my original plan. When Gu Zhenghua and Zhou Area were caught in a compromising situation right in the alley, cornered by gossipy old ladies and neighbors, they had no choice but to register their marriage on the spot. The Gu family fell into chaos. Neighbors whispered behind their backs, and everywhere in town, people laughed at the scandal. Seeing the situation spiral beyond control, Gu Zhenghua, humiliated but now getting what he wanted with the woman he loved, thankfully no longer forced to go down to the countryside, Chi stepped in and had them arrested. Just the charge of burglary and murder was enough to ruin him for life. As for the morally questionable Zhou Area, of course she'd have to suffer alongside him, sharing the same fate. Listening to all this, I drifted in darkness, unable to open my eyes, unable to wait for father. I was beginning to wonder, Was I really buried in a coffin in Chi's courtyard? Just as those in the comments had predicted, yet the very moment I thought this, the vanished stream of commentary reappeared before me. Happy ending, all you villain protagonists, celebrate with confetti, hurrying, the head of the Jiang family splashes billions of interstellar coins in celebration of his little princess being rescued. Everyone grab the red packets quickly. Love, goodbye, love, be happy. I stared at those farewells, puzzled, yet unnaturally startled. As my gaze lingered on the longest message, the comment stream shattered into tiny sparks, exploding into my body, and I was reborn into this world once more. In the hospital room, my eyes snapped open, dazed. I felt as though I'd lost something, though I couldn't recall what. Instinctively, I reached out to the hand holding mine, sitting by my bedside, bearded and disheveled, no longer the refined youth I remembered, eyes hollow and stained with exhaustion, fast asleep. I gently stroked his cheek. I'm still alive. The movement on his face roused Chi. He opened his eyes. His expression instantly lit up with ecstatic relief. Jiang. He clutched my hand, pressing it to his face. I clearly felt the tears falling onto my palm, pooling into a small wet patch. I moved my fingers slightly and smiled. Chi lifted his head. He had so much to say, yet couldn't find the right words to begin. But I spoke first. That day, I just wanted to ask, should we get married? Chi froze for a full half-minute, as if absorbing the weight of those words. Then, in a flash, he lunged forward, hugging me tightly, burying his face in the crook of my neck. Sure, get married. Right now, no, wait, later, no. After you're discharged from the hospital. I burst into laughter. Sunlight poured through the window, spilling across the hospital bed, wrapping the two of us in warmth, chasing away all shadows. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.